this compound with the pad on the back and the fibers get in there, it starts compounding and polishing into that scratch. And it actually starts polishing the bottom of it a little bit, maybe rounding it out. So instead of all jagged like this is here, it starts the process of rounding and flattening that. Even though that divot is still there, the mark, the depth of the scratch hasn't changed that much, it still rounds it out, rounding out the bottom so you barely see it anymore. So here when the light goes through it, it's going through, it isn't hitting all those jagged corners and edges of that original scratch. There's still a mark here, there's still an indentation from this scratch, whatever occurred. Let's say it's a big long one from a piece of sand or something like that. But because it's clearer now or smoother on these edges, the light doesn't diffuse so much and you don't notice it here so much. You'd almost have to look at it with a microscope in order to see what's going on at that point. And before I talk about the haze part, because that's still the same thing, only you're polishing on a much more microscopic level maybe, and clearing things up. I was going to go to what happens when you flat pad it. When you flat pad it, it's very similar, but not quite the same. There's no padding or backing on this, and it's kind of like wet sanding, where a piece of sandpaper goes right over this, and there's the deep scratch. You're taking clear off, like you're taking that much clear off, so that scratch is actually shallower now, because you've taken that much clear off of it as you're compounding across there. But it doesn't really round the edges all that good. That's why you always have to use this one afterwards in order to round the edges better. When you get to your cup pad, that's when it starts rounding the edges better. We're still down at this level. We've definitely helped it quite a bit. This was an awful deep scratch. And we get to the same conclusion or end where it's smooth, smooth, smooth. And I've told customers this before too, like it's kind of like gets inside that whole scratch real good that way. Rounded out the bottom, the corner, and with this continued compounding. The thickness, yep. Round top corners with the cup pad maroon thing. So that's a bit more aggressive, we'll say, but really this is different. You're cutting this off, you're shearing this off here, just like you would with sandpaper. It's not rounding it too awful much yet. It doesn't round it until you start using this pad that gets inside of it real good and smoothing it out. And that takes care of the deep scratches pretty much. And then when you've compounded, the haze that's left over, is this is still pretty aggressive. So it's leaving these tiny little scratches all over the place that are more uniform. And so the whole paint finish looks better. We can see this hairiness that we need to get rid of with a lighter polish and a different pad and such. And so here's what the clear coat looks like after we've got done compounding on a microscopic level. It's not, now it's smoother looking here, but that's only because we're looking at it closer here. And that's what the haze is. And then so you use your fine polish, like our yellow pad, with now we use hyper polish or McGuire's, our 102, no, that's 205. 205, yeah, 205, thank you, that we use to try to take the haze out. And again, you use good pressure and such in order to make sure you're polishing uniformly across there, but you even get less diffusion. You're still getting some diffusion and it looks a little bit cloudy there, where this is less diffusion, not perfect, not totally eliminated, but it's less and looks even better. That